Well, hi there, you guys. It's Coach Carrie here. I am coming at you from obviously my home, and as you are likely watching from your home, and I am hoping that you are safe and that you are just trying to make lemonade out of these lemons. And so I thought I would come on here to share with you my latest blog had to do with stress eating, and I just find it's a little bit even easier to explain than it is to write about. So I thought I would come on live and share with you some tips that I learned a couple of years ago when I was kind of victim to some stress and as a result, some stress eating. So hopefully this will help you. And it's really practical. And one of the things that we are very passionate about at Disruptive Nutrition is what we're doing and modeling in front of our kids. And so I've got that in mind as I'm kind of giving you these tips here. So let me first explain to you a little bit about what happened to me a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, it was actually 2 years ago in May, my little town in New England, in Connecticut, was hit by a pretty big tornado, which is very odd for a Connecticut town to have. So we didn't know what was happening, truly. But it was really just our town and a couple of surrounding towns, but our town got hit really hard. I was driving during the tornado and had never, ever seen anything like that before. My husband was overseas on a trip for work, and my two girls, who were, they were 13 and 11 at the time, were home by themselves. So the alert comes out in their phone about a tornado. They run down to the basement freaking out, and I never got the alert on my phone. So I'm driving through it, and it was horrible. I mean, trees were just going down in every direction. I couldn't get home for hours. My husband couldn't get home, obviously, because he was overseas. And when I got home, I saw just damage that I couldn't believe, and two very, very scared little girls. And what proceeded kind of after was a week of no electricity, no husband, no school for the kids, still me having work and needing to figure out how to clean up and how to move on and how to run a generator. So long story short, it was really stressful. I felt lonely. I felt scared. I felt completely unknowledgeable about what I should be doing. There was devastation all around us, and I felt helpless at the same time. So I found myself going to food to relieve the stress, and it wasn't serving me. And at the end of it all, it didn't serve me. And so, even as a nutrition coach, right, like I know these things, but it doesn't matter, because although I always say when you know you can do, I think that's true. You have to know something to be able to do it, but there's also this emotional piece around it. And if you are like me, especially in the very beginning of all of this stuff that was happening, I couldn't even get my bearings. Like a couple of weeks ago, I just found it took me longer to do anything. Everything felt off and weird, and I didn't know what exactly to do. Now that we are, a good 3 weeks in, we need to try to get ourselves back into routines. But I am noticing a lot of my clients are saying that stress eating is still really a problem for them. So I put this together because this is stuff that I learned the hard way when I was going through that stressful time. So the first tip is about, I'm calling it name it. So we just studied the book Atomic Habits in our membership group by James Clear, because habits are very important for us to understand and be aware of. And one of the things that James Clear says in habits is to make it obvious. And one way to do that is to actually say it out loud. So let me tell you what I mean and then why this is important. So when you find yourself going to go stress eat, the first piece of this is awareness. And so when we name it, when we actually say something like, I am not hungry, but I want to eat because I am stressed or bored or lonely or whatever it is, and this is not going to serve my body, but I'm going to do it anyway. Like, just saying that out loud does two things. One, it raises your awareness. Okay, I'm doing it. And even if you end up doing it, you've actually done something by putting it out there. Now, the second thing, though, it does is that as an educator, brain-based research really intrigues me. And so stuff like just lives in the right side of our brain at first. It's also the creative part, but it's also a little bit messy. So when we kind of internalize and start thinking about things, but we don't externalize it at all and we don't reflect on it, it just lives in that right side of the brain. It's not until it gets to the left side of our brain where we can actually problem solve and actually process through it and come up with a plan around it. So what we need to do is get things from our right side of our brain to our left side of the brain. That's why counseling is so important, because we say things out loud. So when we actually name it and say out loud what we're actually doing in our brain is moving it from the right side to the left side. And just the act of doing that starts to problem solve it for you, starts you on a road of recognizing and then doing. So it seems so simple, but if you consistently do that, you're going to actually replace it with some other behaviors, which is great. But now we need to think about some other behaviors. So here's one that I came up with my kids, and it was fun, and so I'm suggesting this to you. We said, make it a game. That's what we call it. We're going to do the game. And let's be very honest, like during that time with the tornado, my kids were under a ton of stress because they had been alone and they didn't know if I was able to come home or my husband wasn't there. Like for a little while, they actually thought they had no parents, and it was very traumatic for them. So that stress needs to be recognized, and all of us all over the world are dealing with this stress right now. Like it's very incredible that we are all dealing with that same bowl of lemons, which is so surreal. But your kids are too. So we need to be thinking about, this is a fun thing to do. So what we can do is with our kids, brainstorm a whole bunch of healthier but fast ways to respond when we're feeling stressed, when we're feeling worried, when we're feeling bored or lonely. And you're going to write them all down on an index card and just have a whole bunch of them, okay? Then pull your kids together, right, and say, this is what we're going to do. So you kind of come up with these ideas together and say, whenever mommy is feeling stressed or bored or lonely, I want to be able to have all of us come together and pull a card. And when you are feeling stressed or lonely or bored, you can do that too. And so we have this thing where it's like you can say it, like, I need to play a game. That's what we called it. I need to play the game. And then you had 5 minutes to like close off whatever you were doing and go and pull a card. And then whatever you did, whatever card. And so it was a great way to teach your kids some of those stress reliever techniques, but it also helps you curb stress eating. Get it? Right? And so some ideas that, you can do is play with your dog, doodle. Those coloring pages, I love those. Like adult coloring pages, those are fun. Do a run up and down the stairs. Listen to a favorite song. Do a TikTok, which we didn't do a couple of years ago, but we're doing a lot of now. Read a magazine, go for a walk, have a dance party. Like you and your kids can come up with that, but it can be a fun way to be able to curb it. Another way is what we talk about, eating to fuel your body. So at Disruptive Nutrition, we have a very specific approach that involves fueling our bodies so that we are always satisfied, okay? So we don't deprive ourselves, and we understand how food serves us. So we adopt an approach we call PFC every 3. So we eat a protein, fat, and carb, a complete protein. That's another story. A complete protein, fat, and carb every 3 hours. And because we are satisfied, because our blood sugar is consistently balanced, believe it or not, we don't crave foods. We don't crave chocolate. We don't crave carbs because we're giving our body the carbs and the sugar that it needs. And we are constantly balanced. So this is really important because you may think it's stress eating, but your body may actually be craving sugars and carbs because you're not actually doing the approach of keeping your blood sugar stable all day. When we keep our blood sugar stabilized all day, we're actually boosting our metabolism. We're doing so many things for our long-term health, our gut health. It's amazing. When you fuel your body with food, your body does for you what you want it to, and it takes away those cravings as well. So if you're still stress eating, even doing that, then you know it's stress eating. Right? You know it's not actually a physical reaction to needing sugar. And that's important to know the difference of, because it has less to do with your willpower and more to do with just fueling your body correctly. Another really great strategy is taking that PFC approach and thinking about it and in a way that might not be healthy, but is correct. Okay, so what I mean by correct is, let's say you're like a potato chip girl. I'm a potato chip girl, salt and vinegar. My daughter, my 15-year-old, and I are salt and vinegar girls. And so if you're feeling like, I just need some salt and vinegar chips because, or whatever it is, because you are, just feeling either bored or lonely or whatever, and you decide you're going to indulge in it, you've named it, you're going to indulge in it, then understand that that is just a fat and a carb. So if we do PFC every 3 and we add a protein to it, it may not be healthy, but at least we're pairing it with the right foods to keep our blood sugar stabilized and to keep us moving forward in the right direction. So you need, like me right now, it's those dang mini eggs, those Easter mini eggs. They're like my kryptonite. But I know if I have some of those, that's a carb and a fat. And if I just have this is what I do. I usually have some sliced turkey, and then a little while later I'll sit down and I'll have my mini eggs. Oh, so good. So you can do that, okay? So those are a few tips. Now I wrote a whole blog about it, so I put the link up in the comments or the post section. So go and dig into that, and then there's some links in there that you'll be able to dig into to hear about our approach a little bit more. Because I'm telling you that PFC every 3 approach is going to keep you satisfied all day long, and then some of those replacement behaviors are really going to help. So I hope that helps you all. Please let me know if you have any questions or if you're trying any of these things. I'd love to know how it works for you and your family. So keep safe, keep strong, and we will get through this together. Thanks, guys.